The only sensation I still had was hearing, because that's the last one you lose before dying.
On the wave that I guess almost took your life, take me through like everything you remember from that day.
Yeah, we first drove off the harbor there. The first thing I saw was this gigantic wave breaking like 500 meters or more outside from the cliff. And I teamed up with Carlos on the rope. And as we drove around over the waves, I told him, I was like, I'm quite insecure here. And he pressed me a little bit with encouragement, but also like, gotta go, make up your mind. Like, and so I felt that pressure and I said, no, I can, like, do you think I can do it? And he said, yes, of course you can do it. I don't think I'll choose that wave to ride nowadays. I think I'll choose a better wave. But we didn't have much experience. And so he put me on that wave. I ended up falling and break my ankle on that wave. Carlos had no experience on rescues. We didn't even have a backup rescue at the time, which we have nowadays, everyone has. And Carlos had no communication. He had lost the radio, and we kept going. So that was a massive mistake. And when I got taken by the second wave, I lost my life jacket underwater. And I got hit so violently at some point that I blacked out. And as I blacked out, I was already very out of air, already saying goodbye to my dearest and having all those difficult thoughts. So the scenario was like as bad as it gets. So that's a minute or so later, Carlos, I see him, I think he sees me, coming from the beach towards me out. And he approaches me and does a terrible approach, expecting that I'm gonna be okay. I mean, I'm sure he learned now that after 10 minutes of not seeing a body in such conditions, they're not okay.
Right.
So he made the first approach and just threw me the sled, didn't even give me the hand or anything. And I was basically gone at that time.
Yeah.
I couldn't see, I didn't have vision anymore,
Right.
I was very limited. The only sensation I still had was hearing, because that's the last one you lose before dying. So he approaches again and he screams, Maya, grab the rope. And I automatically, already unconscious, grab the rope and I'm close enough to the shore that he can jump on my body, and we were lucky that he was able to swim me in from close. Like, literally, I went to the black, which I don't know if it's the other side.
Looking back, what were the safety precautions that you should have taken that you didn't?
Oh my God, radio. Radio communication failed. Second rescue, jet ski, failed. The life jackets we use nowadays that have inflatable, and it wasn't available for most surfers at the time.
Had you had that, what's the likelihood it
Nothing would have happened.
Never would have happened?
No.
Her former tow partner, Carlos, your thoughts on him?
My thoughts on Carlos. I don't really think much of him. Her accident, the kind of risk that they took, all the communication after, I don't know, it's not my style. If you're partnering with somebody, you have to be committed to doing the best you can for that person. And from what I've seen, I didn't see that.
There's a wild side to Brazilians too. There's a pressure that we need to prove ourselves to be worthy of anything. And so I also see a little bit of a lack of understanding from Sebastian with the difference of culture. But yes, I think ultimately, of course, that's a statement that I agree with. I don't know if for Carlos it's so black and white like that. I don't think he thinks he was wrong at all. I don't think he thinks we made mistakes.
And then after you almost die and you're at the hospital, he goes out and keeps surfing.
Yeah.
That had to sting.
Not at the time. I was so caught in the relationship. He was so above what I could criticize that at the time, him going out felt natural. Like I supported him. I wouldn't right now, but you know, that's how important he was to me.
You had said afterwards, I don't regret it, not even a little bit. It was the most enriching experience in my life.
I don't regret it. I don't like to regret things, not even mistakes. And I find that the difficult, hard, painful, surprising things that happen to us in life are the ones that make us grow the most and change us the most. And it was definitely an experience that has and continued to like shape my life.
So yesterday, when we were, done on the water, we swam up to the beach, which is, the beach where you were resuscitated. Have you been there a lot before, like since then?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Did-
That's my beach. Yeah.
Is it weird at all?
No, I don't think about it anymore. And I have a lot of great, amazing, hard, nerve-wracking, happy, sad experiences since then on the same place.
From when you were injured to when you came back, it was how long?
4 years.
What did the recovery process entail?
It was horrible. And I decided to then go into surgery, on my first surgery for my spine. And it was a failed surgery. 2 months later, I had an emergency second surgery. It was a failed surgery.
And I understand at that point, after your second surgery, the doctors told you you should retire.
A year and a half after the second surgery, yes. Before I convinced one doctor to go into my third surgery, yes.
And it was hard to find a doctor to perform your third surgery.
Yeah, I was the eighth. 7 doctors had 7 different opinions, and they all wanted to go different directions. And I was pretty convinced that I needed a fusion. So it took some time for them to realize that, I was 26, I was young for a fusion, but I needed one. It's very painful, and there's no surgeries after that. If you do that and you fail, there's nowhere to go.
It was really scary, but I think for her it was a relief.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was, at least the way I see it, is she got to like the pinnacle of how much pain, how much like how far away you can be taken from your dream. Because if you look at it from that moment on, her career really came to an upstart that led to 2 world records.
Carlos, why are you guys not on good terms?
Just the way that it finished was very hard for me. I was between the second and third surgery on that year and a half that I was just trying to survive. And I needed a lot of emotional support. I was very scared, I was very traumatized, and I was in pain like never before. And he looks at me and he's like, you don't need to do this anymore. And I was so naive and I was so confused at the time that I agreed. I was like, yeah, you're right, this is so stressful. Like, he was retiring me. And I was agreeing because like, here's like my mentor, 10 years, and yes, this is miserable. I can barely walk. And he's making me miserable too because he's walking out on me.
He told her that her career was over as well. Mm-hmm. And long list of people, huh? Yeah, well, telling somebody your career is over, unless you're a doctor, that's a shitty move, huh? You don't tell nobody your career is over.
I would imagine that made it all the more satisfying when you come back to Nazare and surf for the first time, and not only surf for the first time, but do what?
Yeah, achieve a world record. Today, if you tell me my story, I'm like, what? How did it go like that? You
Right.
know, like what a crazy story. The way people treated me back then was like, you had a great career, it's all good, like there was no talks about what Maya's gonna do next, you know. It was like nobody wanted to go there. Nobody wanted to talk about that. Nobody believed in it.
How did it feel to prove the doubters wrong?
I don't know. It was more for me than for anyone else. At times, I was just so out of faith, you know, of really recovering, of really finding the strength to pursue the career again and risk myself again and accept the risk of dying. You know, it was so amazing to be able to find success after such a long, uncertain, and really kind of difficult, dark times.